Welcome back to Tawana Talks. I'm your host, Tawana, and I am thrilled to kick off season 3 with you. This season, we're diving into the theme Empower Her to Thrive, exploring how we can create environments where women and girls can truly flourish. From personal stories to practical strategies, we'll cover it all with humor, heart, and unfiltered honesty. Let's embark on this journey together and discover how we can thrive in every aspect of our lives. Now, let's get started with our first episode. Well, welcome back to Tawana Talks. I'm your favorite host, Tawana, and I am beyond excited to kick off season 3 with you all. Can you believe it? Season 3. This season is about unfiltered thriving, embracing every part of our journey, and really just showing up authentically in our lives. So let's dive in. Being transparent now, I didn't even want to wear my glasses this episode. Um, I wanted to, be a little bit more jazzy eyelashes, but allergies be allergies, and that was not the case. So you may see me if you are watching the video touching my eye a little bit more than often because these eyes are really doing a thing this allergy season. But anywho, I am still so excited. I'm not gonna let that get to me because this is season 3. I didn't even want to do a podcast, as I ended out by saying in season 2. But here we are in season 3. And during this season, I've been doing some really deep soul searching, or during the off season, and building. And baby, let me tell you, I am pumped about this new setup. This season, I am introducing something that I am calling tea time. Like, girl, did you get the tea? But here, the tea is all about time to be transparent, to see opportunities to thrive, since we're all about empowering to thrive, and having like that unfiltered thriving. So this is time where I'll share personal stories, reflections, and moments that help shape me, may shape someone else, and even provide content for the episode. So let me explain to you a little bit more about tea time and invite you to participate in tea time. So if you are interested in sharing your tea for feedback on how you could use it to create a thriving environment, please see the link in the description of this episode. You can also visit it on the website. You'll see it there. But all tea is kept anonymous, and your experience could be the catalyst for someone else's entryway to finding their strengths. So today's episode is full of tea and defining moments that inspired the focus for this season. So let's get real. This past season has been a season for me, and I would particularly call it like a season of exile. I even did a talk a little while back, and I'll put the link in the description, titled Exile Through the Exile. And so you can watch it a little bit later. But exile is where I have moved from one place of familiarity to a space of uncertainty. But God is giving me a tour of this new space and the tools, or the furniture, if you will, to thrive in it. And I'm seeing how each season and each step are now kind of coming together. But when I was on the previous step, I didn't see the next step. But now that I'm at a little bit of the next step, I can see the steps behind me and see where that has taken me. And I don't see all of the steps ahead of me, but because of that continuity of development, I know that it's something great. And so season 1 started as like a form of self-therapy. I mentioned a little while back that I didn't even want to do a podcast. Like, that was not something that was in my strategic plan or my intentions or goals. But it so happened, and then it kept happening. And so it was like I recorded my first episode just out of a place of wanting to share with some close friends of mine some revelation that I had. And I felt like a push from the Holy Spirit, like, record again, do it again. And it turned into the podcast and moved into season 2. And even before season 2, I was like, I'm not doing this. Like after season one, I was like, I'm done. In fact, I cut season one short. I believe it was supposed to be 40 episodes and it was only 37. And I was like, I'm done. And again, because I was on that first step out, or that out of the door moving, and didn't even realize I was moving into exile. And so it was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this. It's too much work. I don't even see the purpose. I'm not doing this. And it's like, I was like, God was like, okay, I'm gonna give you a little break. But it kept nudging at me. It's like, but it's happening. And so therefore season two came about. And that was about really just processing that trauma of what was going on during the first season and all of those things. I was healing from job trauma after being laid off without sound reason. And then that whole time of like, I'm not doing it was really me just like coming to terms like, what is going on right now? And so, like I said, season two was really about processing the trauma and really learning my new territory. And now, season three, I'm like moving into this new place and really unpacking this furniture and setting up some accessories, if you will, tools for thriving and creating sustainable success in this season. And so, what's in the name? Like, that's the title of this episode. And what does that have to do with anything? And I'm glad you asked. If you asked yourself, like, what does that have to do with anything? By now, you all know, obviously, duh, my name is Tawana, and it is the name of the podcast, Tawana Talks. And it literally is me just talking and processing life's events and circumstances to see the bigger picture and how it really lends itself to self-development. And I didn't realize that I was doing that in the very beginning. I always had a knack for being able to kind of see the big picture, see the gap, and kind of develop some outside of the box thinking and some strategical thinking of how do we take this instance and this experience and use it for development and growth. And I didn't know or realize that was a gift, and it was a gift that I had in my teaching career, which allowed me to be successful in that space and teaching my students much more than the content that I was teaching them, but helping them to process life situations as well as my staff and those types of things. And so um, kind of lost my train of thought. So that's exactly what the talks are. And I remember a while back, my students used to say like, you need to record these things. And I was like, no, I don't really see a purpose in that. And look where we are now, like really I'm recording these things. And so really just using what I've kind of experienced in life for development, for helping others, and kind of just taking some of others' experiences to help me see bigger pictures for my life, but also help them to see bigger pictures in their life. So back to what's in the name. Like I named it Tawana Talks for that reason. What got us here with regards to well, let me before I talk about that, let me go back to the name. Like all of it has to do with the name, but there's a build up to this, if you will. So stay with me. So as far as my name, like I said, my name is Tawana. We all know that the podcast is named after me. I always knew, I wouldn't say always, as far as back as I can remember, as Google existed, if you will, Googling my name, it always told me that my name was a Persian name and it meant able or robust. So I was like, that seems fitting. And it was kind of ironic too, because my son's name is a Persian name of one of the kings in the Bible. And so I was like, oh, that really is like fitting. You know, I have a Persian name, he has a Persian name, but I didn't name him with the knowledge of knowing that my name was Persian because when he was born, Google did not exist. And so I was like, okay, my name means able and robust. That seems very fitting. I've always been an outgoing person. You know, that type of thing. But recently I discovered a new meaning that really just blew my mind. So a friend of mine was looked up my name on Urban Dictionary, and I would have never used that to look up my name, but she did it because she was doing a workshop with she was doing a workshop for the people that she leads, and she was talking about name and things like that. And so she used Urban Dictionary to do that. And she was like, but she told me that after looking it up, we found out that my name meant beautiful, bold, and well, before I even go through all of that, when I say these things, you all, if you know me, or if you listen to any of the other podcasts, as I started transitioning through the trauma and all of the things. But even if you follow me on social media, you'll be like, yep, all of that is true, especially the beautiful part. But but the name means beautiful, bold. My name means beautiful, bold, and wonderful. It also goes into a little bit more depth of a characteristic, excuse me, of my name. And it says her style is captivating. Her presence demands your attention, loves everyone, and everyone loves her. Her charisma is mesmerizing, making her the life of every party. It didn't just say party, it said partay. And it even said, ain't no party like a Tawana party. And I was like, what? Okay. Um, I don't like big crowds, but I do like a good get together. So I was like, all right, that's giving me life, like the young folks say, like it's given. And so that really resonated with me in my current stage, seeing those qualities in myself I hadn't really kind of noticed before, especially going through that season. It wasn't a party. It wasn't the fun. It wasn't the things that were mentioned with regards to the bold and the wonderful and captivating. I didn't feel that during that season. I didn't feel that as I was transitioning through those seasons. And if I'm being very honest, even at the place that I am now, still growing and developing and starting to see the picture, I sometimes don't see it now. But hearing that at that moment that I heard it, and as I'm stepping through, and going through this exile season and really reestablishing a place, a new residence in life, that gave me life because it helped me to see myself in the meaning of my name. It was almost like a message, like you've gone through that, but this is still who you are. Don't let that event or that circumstance dictate who you are, Tawana. And so that, really just gave me life with that. And so then I had a meeting with an individual to talk about some collaboration. And in that meeting, he asked the gentleman that I was meeting with, he asked me the meaning of my name. So of course, as long as I can remember, as Google has told me, I began to share the Persian meaning, like um, able and robust. And then I started looking up to go back exactly what the Urban Dictionary is. I was like, oh yeah, my friend, she told me in this other meeting, but I want to look it up so I get it right. So I put my name in Le Google and something else came up. The Persian one did not come up as the first one, and neither did the Urban Dictionary one. And I couldn't remember that at that moment that she had got it from Urban Dictionary. So I just was like, oh, Google never fails. Let me just, never fails, right? But let me just look up my name and surely I'll find the definition that she gave me so that I can share this. But the first definition that came up, which I had never seen before, was a Shona meaning. Now, Shona is the language that's spoken. I learned this, so I'm not even going to pretend like I was like this history buff because I am not. But Shona is the language that's spoken in Zimbabwe and Mozambique. And but that meaning came up, and it means my name in Shona means we have found or to discover. And I said, as I was talking to this gentleman, I was like, I've always known it to have this Persian meaning, able and robust. And I was trying to find this other meaning because all I could remember was ain't no party like a Tawana party. But I was like, whoa, but now I'm seeing this new meaning, like the Shona meaning, and it means like we have found. And he began to explain to me a little bit more because he revealed then that he is Shona. And I was like, what in the world? Like, how is it that in this time and in this moment, in this space that I'm meeting with you, the first definition that comes up is a Shona definition. And he admitted that he asked me because he already knew the meaning because he is Shona, but he wanted to know if I knew, and I did not. And this was like a perfect time to see this new meaning again as I'm transitioning through and really establishing a residence in my new life space and learning more about myself and seeing more about me and what God has created me to be able to do and serve greater purpose. And so as he was explaining, he's like, whenever you say Tawana and Shauna, it's like the next follow-up question is like, what have you found? What have you discovered? And so he said that, and as I looked up further, that Tawana is also followed by something. So for instance, there is Tawana Ishe, which means we have found God. And I was like, mind blown. Like if I could have been an emoji, it would have definitely been the mind blown emoji because I was like, wait, what? I had never heard this. So speaking with him and discovering this meaning during this I have found stage that I'm in my life was like serendipitous. Like I just could not. I was speechless on and I am speechless. And go figure, on Tawana Talk, I'm speechless. And finding this new discovery of my name in the time and the season, excuse me, of my name's meaning. Like I have found Tawana, I have found, I have discovered, and I am in that I have found, I have discovered in that discovery phase of my life. So I was just like, what? Um, so since we're speaking about names, as I mentioned a little bit earlier about the whole purpose of like how I came about this empower her to thrive. And so since we're speaking about names, I'm going to kind of just do like a little bit of a pivot, just a bit, but stay focused with me because the season 3, I'm really diving into the powerful themes aligned with my framework and my mindset with empower her to thrive. And that empower her to thrive came as going through the traumatic situation and kind of processing that and where I am now. But during that time, and I may have shared this before in previous seasons and talks, I also learned and accepted that my daughter is living with ADHD. And me having such a rich background in education and teaching and administration and all the things, I've come across, a too many to count students who are who have ADHD or um, who brains think differently, and later on finding out that that's neurodivergent versus not versus but neurodivergent as opposed to neurotypical, learning that through the process of learning my daughter. But like I said, during that time I kind of always knew a little bit, but I wasn't really accepting of it. And I really didn't want to get her labeled because coming through the educational system, I knew how I saw how labeling your child had a negative stigma and all of the things. So I was like, you know what? I'm an educator. I can process this through. I can do the things. And I kind of had a ignorant mindset, if you will, that I could like do all the things to make it go away. Like it was like a learning, it was a behavioral thing, right? And not a developmental thing. Like this is how she was made. This is how she was created. Notice I didn't say a developmental disability or anything of that nature. Now ADHD, don't get me wrong, definitely comes with some challenges, but it also has propelled me and been the conduit for me growing and developing into who I am when it comes to mindful thinking and things of that nature. And I'll talk about that just a moment, but getting back to the where I got the empower her to thrive. So my focus had been on after coming to terms and recognizing that I will get her tested so that she could get the best supportive services needed in the educational system, because that was the only way. Well, not want to say the only way, but that was the best way at that time to advocate and really demand the things that she needed in the school system. Because just because you go in as a parent and say, my daughter thinks like this, or my daughter responds like this, or needs this, they're not necessarily going to do it. You have to have some backing to it. And I knew that, but I figured I can do some things on the front and the back end at home that should help mitigate the things in school, and it just wasn't happening. And so I decided to go ahead and get her tested. And I still was against the labeling of, attention deficit disorder, because I feel like my daughter is not deficit in anything. That's not how God created her. And any child that has ADHD. And it's definitely not a disorder, because this is how she was created. And so I started focusing on what are the things that I can do, what are the things that I can train, and what are the things that I can develop to help others create environments whereby they can thrive, to create environments for her to thrive and do those types of things. And then I started to see the bigger picture in that, on what was going on in my work situation, that I was not feeling all of the things that my name was saying that I am. I wasn't feeling able. I wasn't feeling robust. I wasn't feeling like the parte. I wasn't feeling the boldness. I wasn't even seeing or feeling my worth. And although I had really elevated and graduated to a upper level position in my career, I didn't feel it. And as I realized, I was not empowered to thrive in that situation or in that environment. So I didn't have the tools to do so. And so that became the bigger picture of zooming out from just supporting girls with ADHD to supporting women in general, when it comes to us having multifaceted responsibilities as women, as moms, as leaders, as educators. We hold so many different hats. Even if you're not a mom, women just hold a lot of hats. And this is not to say that men do not. It's just that I don't have that experience. And so I can only speak to this particular part as a woman. Now I can train and develop a gentleman who is going through or having the experience of a profession that I was in, because I've done it. And so definitely there. But when I'm talking about us as a holistic, as women, and speaking to the things that we encounter and experience, that's what I'm talking about when I say empower her to thrive, being able to see life's challenges, experiences, to create and develop a larger picture, to create environments whereby you can thrive. So getting back to the meeting, I am a wordy, and some would say a bit of a nerd, and that's fine. But I love to see and break down the meanings of words and names, which is why it was so fascinating to me to find out my name and the meaning of my name, even in more depth. Like, I've named my children their names because they have meaning. And so let's explore the meaning for empower and thrive, and what these words like really truly mean to me and why I've selected them. So empowering her to thrive isn't just a motto that I use, it's really my mission. And empowerment means providing support. For me, this is my definition. Empowerment means providing supportive tools, to operate in your strength as your authentic self. So I'll say that again. Empowerment means providing supportive tools to operate in your strength as your authentic self. And so when I think back to my space that I was in, I was not provided with the tools so that I can recognize my strengths, so that I can operate in my authentic self. I was just grasping at things that I felt worked, and it just was falling apart as I was doing it, because I wasn't empowered to see, okay, here are your strengths. How can your strengths show up in this space, and how can we give you the things that you need to operate in your strengths? And so thriving means, for me, showing up as your best and authentic self, embracing all of its complexities, and continuously growing. And so I'll say that one again. Thriving means showing up as your best and authentic self, embracing all its complexities, and continuously growing. And so you're able to grow even as you being the you, and coming with all of your experiences and all of your the things that you've encountered. Like, I recognized, as I started transitioning to this space, I showed up in my spaces authentically as the role that I was showing up in. So if I was the principal, I showed up as the principal, setting aside all of the other roles that I had in life. Like, I was a mom still, but what was the most important thing at hand at that moment was the principal. And so I was setting aside my mindset of being a mom, although I brought the what is the word I'm looking for? I brought the knowledge that I've learned from being a mom, on how I process information. But then when I went to being mom, I was not necessarily setting aside the principle, but I was like, it was just weird. It was like I couldn't, I had to have on um, this uniform. Like I was switching uniforms each place I went, as opposed to just being able to be Tawana, robust, able, life of the party, all of the things. And once I was able to like move into this new space that I'm in and this new residence, it is so liberating that I don't have to always be on. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like as me being a mom, as me being an administrator, as me being an executive, as me being just Tawana, as me being the friend, as me being the silly one, as me being angry, upset, sad, all of those things. I can show up in my space. I can have a moment, but still have a smile. I can be processing some things and not have to have on this happy face, or have my face made up, or my hair done up, or my nails done, and all of the things. So it is just liberating. And of course, don't get me wrong, I love doing those things. That's great, but it doesn't feel like a requirement to be able to show up in a space such as this, because it's about being authentic and transparent. And transparency doesn't necessarily mean you lay all your business out for everyone to judge. It just means that you don't have to put on your representative to show up, and you could share a little bit of yourself without giving the intricate details of how you got where you are. And so, yeah. So with this mission of Empower Her to Thrive, each episode is definitely going to be aimed to provide supportive tools for you to show up as your authentic self and operate in your strengths. So I just want to know, are you ready to give yourself permission to really step into your power, own your story, and make decisions that align with your true self? And so with that being said, I'll take a quick commercial break. This commercial break is brought to you by TL Collaborative, which is the organization that I am the CEO and founder of. And it is all about empowering women and girls to thrive. And at TL Collaborative, I offer a range of services to help you unlock your potential and navigate life's challenges. For personalized growth, explore our coaching packages, whether it's mindful moments for wellness and stress management, mother-daughter bonding to navigate ADHD challenges, or empowered women and teen coaching for personal and professional development and elevation. I've got you covered. Looking for a dynamic and interactive learning? Book a workshop designed to tackle key challenges and foster growth. From thriving in authenticity to empowering leadership, my sessions provide valuable tools and strategies in supportive settings. And if you are seeking to energize your audience, book me for your next event. My motivational talks on leadership, personal growth, and authentic living are crafted to inspire and connect deeply with your audience. Plus, I am super duper excited to mention to you and announce here on the podcast, my book, Empower Her to Thrive, is now available. It is available in digital copy and paperback format. The paperback copy includes a bonus keepsake section. Get your copy today and start your journey with thriving, you and your daughter, or give it to someone as a gift. Please be sure to visit my website for free consultation and to book your transformative journey today. Don't just live, thrive. All right, so welcome back to this episode. Quick side note. As I was just processing this episode and thinking about what's in the name, and I was preparing, my daughter, it was like right on time. She was creating, I don't know, a CapCut or some type of video thing. You know, these alphas are now doing all the things. And honestly, I love it because it's like a reverse mentoring, which I did a talk on that a couple of weeks ago as well. But I love it because she teaches me a lot. Like, this new technology is changing and ever evolving, and I love that she is leaning into it. And I did the same with my other two, who are adults now. So I allow her to teach me. So anyway, she was doing some type of video or whatever, and I heard her say tequila baby. And I was like, first of all, she's 9. So of course that really caught my attention. And I'm like, what tequila? What are you talking about? And she told me that her friend at summer camp gave her that nickname and her friend calls herself Cocktail. And I was like, no, ma'am. That's not honoring God. Your name means child of royalty and glorious leaders. So let's call you by your name or think of a more appropriate nickname. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, first of all, tequila baby and cocktail, I mean, they both are 9. Come on. Um, and like, don't get me wrong. I know a couple of people whose names are tequila, and in fact, I'm related to a few. Um, and so there's nothing wrong with those people. But I don't know anyone named Cocktail. But seriously, like when you hear those names, you tell me what's the first thing you think of. Like, exactly. So nowhere in the world do I want my 9-year-old running around here and talk about her nickname is Tequila Baby and her friend's name is Cocktail. But with that being said, like I mentioned, her name has meaning. My children's name have meaning. The reason why I selected those names for them was a meaningful purpose. So names are powerful, and they have powerful connections to our purpose. Now, when I say that, like, again, I just found out that my name meant able and robust when Google became a thing. And I think Google's probably on like 20 something years old. Um, and I didn't find out about Tawana's the life of the party meaning until this past year. And I definitely didn't find out about we have found and to discover meaning in the Shona language. And so it's not like, oh, I had this name and this meant all these great things and this is why I was named it. Really being transparent? No, I wasn't. My name came from a young lady that my mom and my godmother met while my mother was pregnant, and she did not know what she wanted to name me. And this lady had the name Tawana, and they were like, oh, that sounds like a great name. And that's what they decided. And honestly, I love my name, but it was just a little difficult, like as getting older and becoming professional, like Tawana just didn't sound, if you will, professional in my thought process of thinking, because in that, during that time, things had to not sound cultural, if you will. And so I oftentimes would not introduce myself with my middle name, but if I had to like reserve something, I reserved it under my middle name so that people would not judge. Um, if I had to, when I get my Starbucks coffee, I would always do it with my middle name. If I made a reservation for a restaurant or anything like that, it was with my middle name. But now, baby, don't you think every time I have to say my name, it's going to be Tawana. Knowing all of these things that I know about myself and who I am, I love my middle name too. But in fact, my business is my initials of my first and my middle name. But I mean, seriously. But I say that to say, like, my mom did not have this grandiose meaning of why she named me what she named me. But as I became an adult and now I'm learning it, like, God is so intentional. My name is my name with purpose and with reason. And so I just feel like understanding the meaning behind a name can really provide insight into our paths and inspire us to live up to greatness that we are really destined for. So don't think just because your mom named you or your dad named you or your grandparents named you something based on after someone, or they put together a name. Like I had a friend in school who her first name is part of her dad's name, and her name, excuse me, is part of her dad's name and part of her mother's name, and put together. But I just think, like, if you do some soul searching and deep thinking, that again, God is so intentional, there may be some developmental meaning behind, not necessarily if you looked up the name, like this name particularly means this, but you could probably find some aspects of your name that really speaks to your character and not even your character, your identity, because character, traits you can kind of pick up, but your identity is your nature, your natural being of who you were created to be. So it's not just about names, it's about your identity, your stories, and your truths that we live by every single day. And so let's talk a little bit about embracing your authentic self as we are here thinking about really unfiltered life lessons. As I mentioned, that's the focus of looking at these life lessons and trying to see the bigger picture. So embracing your authentic self and not letting others define who you are is super duper important. And that's what I mentioned about, your character or your character traits. And sometimes we put on characters that people have said about us. Like I know growing up, people got nicknamed by their physical character traits. So it might have been, big head Mike. And that's what Mike had went by. Not chip tooth Mike, but big head Mike. Like that's how you identify people when I was younger, like in my teenage years, and even now when some people get their names, that way. But that's the defining that others have used to define you. And although we laugh about it and people have names and we've done it, I'm not gonna say we've all done it because I don't know everyone that's listening on here, but people that I know have done it. And I know that I have called people by the name that they were given based on their characteristics. But your name, your story, your experiences, these are the elements that shape you and they are your unique tapestry. So think about it. Like when you know the meaning of your name, um, it gives you a sense of belonging and purpose. Like just think back to what I told you about really finding another deeper meaning of my name and how that continuously threaded its way into me understanding a little bit more about my identity. It's a reminder of who you are and what you stand for. But beyond all of that, it's really crucial to embrace every part of your journey. As I mentioned, all of the things that I've done and all of the roles that I've taken on, it became a little bit difficult to kind of roboticize, if that's a word. And if it's not, guess what? Now it is because I said it. Um, who I was, and I kind of compartmentalized my being. And even though your journey may be a little messy, it may be have some uncomfortable parts, it is still you just really embracing all of those things because they do help to shape you and to give you a better understanding of your identity. I've had several roles in my career and I've had roles in my life, including being a wife at one point and now being a divorcee and being a mom and yes a grandmother and I am that. And I mentioned that in the end of season 2 I have all of these roles and that is a part of my journey. That is a part of me discovering even more of my identity. Like we are always becoming. We should never feel like we've arrived because if we do, then what's the purpose? And we now don't have a need or don't feel like we have a need for God. And so we are continuously becoming. And so all of the things and all of the roles and all of the experience should be brought with you. And so those are moments that really build resilience and character. And not saying that it has to be all these horrible moments. It could be just the things in life that when you sit back and you think like, what's the lesson learned from this? I know Alicia Keys had that song, lesson learned. And she'll say like mistakes overturned, but I called it a lesson learned. And sometimes we just have to sit back in a space in the moment to kind of do a reflection of your day and say, all right, what could be the bigger picture of this? And in fact, I did a post a little while back that said, if you find yourself continuously looping at something, um, it may be kind of a message that something has to change, something has to give. And like, what are you missing? What's the thing you need to learn from this so that you don't keep doing it? Like being transparent. Sometimes I'm a yelling mom. And I don't want to be a yelling mom, and neither does my daughter want me to be a yelling mom. And I'm like, I am trying my best not to yell through this. And then I have to sit back and say, all right, what am I doing or not doing that is causing me to continue this behavior? And sometimes it's me not being proactive about a situation so that I can set up the even playing field and environment for my daughter to thrive in. And that would then takes me to being reactive because I wasn't proactive about the matter. Especially understanding how she operates, but not even just with a child living with ADHD, just in general. So that's a side note tidbit that I believe I'll talk about later on in future episodes. But really just thinking about discovering the power of your name, here's a little bit of an exercise that you can do. Research your name, look up your meaning, dig into different cultural interpretations. You might be surprised what you find. Like, I would have never looked up the Shauna meaning. It just would have not happened. Matter of fact, just being really real, I didn't even know Shauna. Yes, I said, I didn't even know. I don't even know how to spell that. I didn't even know, or I didn't even know. Shauna was a language, like, if I'm really keeping it real. And as I mentioned that to a friend at church, who is from Africa, she's like, I always thought you knew your name was African. I'm like, I had no idea. I thought it was Persian, or it is a Persian version. But second thing you can do is reflect, write down what your name means to you personally. Think about how it resonates with your life journey. What attributes does it highlight? And sit on that for a moment. Have you researched it? Look at it, see how that aligns, write it down. What does it mean to you? How does that your journeys resonate with it? And then, share, connect with others about the meaning of their name. Share your discoveries on social media. Feel free to hashtag it Tawana Talk, so that I can follow and I can see, as we just kind of build a community that really celebrates unique identities. I would love to see the meaning of your various names and love to see what you've learned from it, those who are listening in your journey through it. But let me just pivot a little bit, still staying in the moment and the spirit of authenticity, and just kind of give you just a little bit of my personal journey. So when I found out that my name in Shauna meant we have found, it felt like, really, for me, like I mentioned before, a divine confirmation of the path that I'm currently on. And in this season of my life where I'm really embracing new opportunities and stepping into my power, knowing what my name means really aligns with me finding my purpose and divine guidance in this incredibly empowering stage and phase of my life. And now it doesn't feel like that all the time. Like, sometimes it feels like, God, are you sure, or do you see me? Like, I know there's a lot of people in the world, and so maybe, you was busy. And so that's why I'm over here, like, feeling like I'm drowning. But as I step back, sit back, and really reflect, it is empowering to just really see, like, how things are starting to transpire, and really see that, like I said, moving into a new space, and really seeing how to set up these new rooms of my life, and rearrange this furniture, and how it looks a lot different than it did before, but how I can see my experience, and my strengths that I built through my experiences to move this furniture to these spaces, and get rid of some things that I was holding on to. Being able to kind of have the strength to throw those things out. Now, I say that metaphorically, but you all know, in the physical, sometimes you hold on to some things and you just like, I can't let this go. Like, I'm for real. Like, I had a shirt. I'm gonna be real with that for a second. I had a shirt that I don't know if I loved it, but I liked it enough. And I know that I had this shirt for a long time because my son, who is creeping up on 25 this year, made me a pendant for Mother's Day or birthday or something in school. And he had to be in second grade. Yeah, because we moved to North Carolina when he was in second grade. So he had to be in second grade. And I'm lying. Maybe he actually made it before we moved to North Carolina. It might have been in first grade, because it was a wooden pendant that he made, and, for your shirt or whatever, like a little pendant. And I put it on that shirt. And I think that shirt might have been dry cleaned, and the shirt was in my closet. And it was in the closet until he was like in the fourth or fifth grade. I still had that shirt. And I was just like, I don't know why I don't want to throw it away. Take the pendant off, get rid of the shirt. But yeah, it's really hard to move things in the physical and get rid of things in the physical that you've been holding on for a long time. So just imagine how it is getting rid of things in the mental and the personal and things like that. But just really finding the strength to be able to do that. But like I said, the journey hasn't been easy. There's definitely times when I've doubted myself, when I felt lost, when I felt unsure. And there were definitely moments in this exile period where I was moved from familiar places to the unknown, like into the unknown, like Elsa said in Frozen 2, and out there at the sea, like, oh God, I'm out here swimming, like what's happening? But every step, every challenge has been a part of my becoming, and it is still unfolding. And so I think that you all will get the opportunity to really see a lot of that unfold in the intricacies of this podcast. And if you've listened to season 1 and season 2, you probably have seen quite a transformation through those seasons to this season as well. So here is my challenge to you. I want you to embrace your story, every part of it, the highs, the lows, the in betweens. Now, when I say that, some of you have some deep rooted stories. And so I would not be being responsible with my talent and my gift if I did not encourage you to, if you don't have a therapist, to make sure you seek out therapy, because sometimes going into the unknown in those spaces, you really need someone to walk alongside with you to pull some things from your past so that you can be able to process that. And so I would strongly recommend a therapist if you're going to go into those spaces. Like, I was reading a book and working on a book. It's Pastor Mike Todd's book from Transformation Church called it says No Damage But Not Destroyed. And I started it and I was like, oh no, I can't do that right now, not by myself. And so I had to go through it with my therapist so that I can touch in those spaces, because I was like, first of all, I felt like I didn't feel like it. It was too much work. And I was like, I just don't feel like want to think about that. And she helped me to really process, took me on steps to get there, to be able to work through and step into that space and process some of those things and continuously process. So I would definitely recommend that. And so, your therapist to help you pull some things from the past, understand how you got here, and then a coach like myself to take some things that you are experiencing now to move forward with those things. So they work in tandem. So I definitely recommend that. But own it all. Like, your story is your power. Your authenticity, is your strength. And when you show up as your true self, you give others the permission to do the same. I always say, and I've said it even in the previous seasons, like, people don't appreciate the product because they don't know the process. They think, like, even this current generation, sometimes I feel like they are doomed to some regards because of the access of social media, because people are only presenting the product, but they're not communicating and presenting the process. And that's what I plan to do, is make sure I show the process. Like, this is what it looks like, so that when someone else is experiencing something, they don't feel like they're an anomaly, that something's wrong with them because they're experiencing something that no one else has experienced. So something must be wrong with them because no one is communicating that. So when you do it, you give others permission to do the same. So let's wrap up with a question to ponder. How does your understanding the meaning of your name and embracing your authentic self empower you to thrive in your daily life? I would love for you to plot those in the comments as you're watching this episode and sharing it, or follow me on social media. Again, the question is, how does your understanding of the meaning of your name and embracing your authentic self empower you to thrive in your daily life? Yeah. And if you, I can't even remember if I said this already, but if you are wanting to drop or share your tea time, the link will be in the chat. I believe I said this. The link will be in the chat for you to share your tea time, and it is totally anonymous, and you can link that to this as well, or you can just put in the comments about your name. I would love to keep a continuous build a community and keep a continuous chat of that. But with that being said, I definitely want to thank you for joining me on this journey of Tawana Talks. I want you to remember that you have the power to thrive and live authentically. Stay tuned for the next episode, which we will be diving deeper into empowerment and thriving strategies. And I want to say, until next time, keep shining, keep thriving, and keep being your authentic and amazing self. If you found this episode inspiring or any episodes, please be sure to subscribe, share, like, and share it again with your friends. Leave me a review. I love to hear your thoughts and your stories. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Tawana Talks. And let's keep the conversation going. But again, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you all. And again, keep thriving.